Kyousuke Kousaka, an average high schooler, is sleeping peacefully until his little sister wakes him up, but he can't believe that his sister, who has always been rude to him, comes to his room. Then, it's all turned out as his dream. He spends all his day complaining about how he feels living with his overachieving sister. After returning home, he meets his little sister, Kirino, who just ignored him, so he takes a refreshment and heads to his room. He remembers that he forgot juice to put back in the fridge, so he returns and bumps into his sister in the hallway. He tries to help her to pick up her stuff, but she rejects him and leaves. After she leaves, he finds a DVD box and discovers it's a magical girl DVD that contains a little sister-themed eroge, erotic game, inside, so he tries to figure out whose it belongs. At dinner, he tells everyone that he is going to buy anime, and judging by their reaction, he suspects Kirino. He then pretends to go outside and returns immediately, only to find Kirino inside his room. He learns that the game belongs to her, but she refuses to accept it, so he asks her to throw it away. She asks him if it would be weird to have such a hobby. He says she would not be weird, and would offer his advice anytime. Later that night, Kirino comes to his room and brings him into her room, asking for some life counseling. She reveals her secret stash of erotic games and anime, and he's surprised by how much she has, and all of her collection is sister-themed. Kirino is hesitant to answer, but eventually opens up to him. She reveals that she loves little sister types, though is unable to explain how she got into it. Kyousuke, after promising to keep her obsession a secret from everyone, returns to his bed, but Kirino returns and drags him again into her room. She forces him to play through one of her eroge for an unbiased opinion. 3 days later, after finding out that Kyousuke hasn't played the game she landed to him, she drags him again into her room, where she forces him to play that game with her. While playing the game, he learns that she is doing this because has no one to talk to about her hobbies. She says that she also wants to talk about her hobbies with others, but is afraid they might think her as a weird person, especially high school girls. Wanting to help Kirino, Kyousuke confides in his friend, Minami Tamura, and asks for her advice. As Minami's advice, he suggests Kirino join online communities for otaku, where people with the same interests gather. Kirino joins the community and is invited to an otaku tea party in Akihabara. Along with Kyousuke, Kirino arrives at Akihabara for the party, which is held in a maid cafe. At the party, Kirino feels so nervous and could not talk to any of the other members. However, after the party, they meet Saori Makishima, who is also the host of the party. She invites them to join her again, and introduces them to another community member, Kuroneko. At their meetup, Kirino and Kuroneko get into a heated debate, first about their appearances, and then about their favorite anime, but despite their differences, they bond over their shared love for otaku culture. Later, Kirino, Kuroneko, and Saori spend the day shopping around Akihabara, bonding over their shared interests. Getting back home, Kyousuke finishes the game Kirino asked him to complete. He then returns it to Kirino and gives her his unbiased opinion about the game. The next morning, Kyousuke learns that Kirino went out with her friends. While Kirino spends her time with her new friends, Saori and Kuroneko, Kyousuke goes out with Minami. Kirino is surprised to find that Saori and Kuroneko do not have to hide their otaku hobbies from others. However, Kirino's happiness is short-lived when Kyousuke returns. He finds his father learns about her hobby and becomes angry at her. His mother explains to him that when Kirino returned, she bumped into her father and dropped her eroge. Kirino becomes upset and runs off, prompting Kyousuke to chase after her. After running for a while all around the city, he finally manages to find her at a game shop. While talking to him, Kirino reveals she is upset because her hobby has been called worthless by her father, but she likes both her hobbies and friends, and can't give up either of them. After seeing Kirino show no desire to give up a part of her life, Kyousuke decides to help her. He returns home and stands up to his father for her. He requests his father to let Kirino keep her hobby, telling him that because of her hobby, she is able to make friends, and that makes her happy. Though his father allows Kirino to keep her hobby, he still shows concern for the eroge Kirino had been seen with, so Kyousuke claims all the erotic stuff belongs to him, and his lie earns him a punch in the face from his father. Kirino later thanks Kyousuke for standing up to their father for her, who is taken aback by her unexpected cuteness. Kirino and Kyousuke play a beat-em-up eroge together, and then she forces him to complete the game alone. When he tries to complete the game and is about to give up, he gets a messages from Saori, so he asks her for some playing advice. Later, Kirino invites some of her school friends to her home. While Kirino and her friends are talking to each other, Kyousuke tries to listen to them through the wall. After that, he goes downstairs and receives a delivery package sent by Saori. Kirino takes the box from him, thinking that the box contains expansive cosmetic items. Saori calls Kyousuke and tells him that the box contains erotic doujinshi, forcing Kyousuke to stop her from opening it in front of her regular friends. He snatches the box and runs away. Kirino also chases after him, but his attempts to protect it from her land them in an even more awkward situation in front of other. Afterward, one of Kirino's friends, Ayase Aragaki, apologizes to Kyousuke on Kirino's behalf and exchanges phone numbers with him. As a way of apologizing for the incident, Kirino forces Kyousuke to take her out. So he brings her to Summer Comiket, along with Saori and Kuroneko. They wander around the convention, and Kirino goes looking for a special data disc that she wants, but it's sold out. Then they learn that one disc is still available, but it's for the winner of a beat-em-up contest. Kirino and Saori try but lose immediately. Kuroneko then steps in and wins the contest, and gives the disc to Kirino. As they leave the Comiket, they are spotted by Ayase. Kirino tries to ignore her. After seeing Kirino in a difficult situation, Kyousuke steps in and attempts to help Kirino to escape from Ayase. However, Ayase stops them by grabbing Kirino's hand. When Ayase suspects Kirino is hiding something, she puts pressure on her, so Kirino decides to run away, and eventually Ayase discovers her hobby, telling her they can no longer be friends. Sometime later after that incident, when Kyousuke tries to talk to Kirino, she bursts out and tells how she feels after what happened with Ayase. Noticing Kirino falling into despair, Kyousuke resumes his life counseling duties. Kyousuke decided to talk to Ayase to try and make things right between her and Kirino, who says she wants to make up with her, but cannot accept her hobby having seen reports of crimes relating to eroge. Kyousuke asks for advice from his father, who helps him by giving the full story behind of those reports. He then explains it to Ayase, saying it was all a misunderstanding, and the publisher also apologized for that. Although Ayase still refuses to make up with Kirino after Kyousuke reveals the truth behind the news story. Just then Kirino shows up. Kirino gains the courage to stand up to her and express her love for both her friends and eroge, telling that she loves her hobbies as much as she likes her friends, and can't lose any of them. When Ayase still has doubts about her hobby, Kyousuke puts on a bold act. After showing Ayase an ero manga, he confesses that he is in love with Kirino, which causes Ayase to hate him. However, Ayase realizes that her fight with Kirino is pointless in comparison, and apologizes to Kirino for her harsh words. Soon after, he receives Ayase's text, who thanks him and warns him not to do anything to Kirino. Later, at the school, Minami invites Kyousuke over to her house to test out the sweets her family's shop is preparing for a Halloween event. Kyousuke's friend notices how close he and Minami are, but Kyousuke denies any romantic feelings. However, he admits he would not allow any guy to go out with her. Upon arriving at Minami's house, they discover Minami's grandpa lying dead on the floor. However, he comes back to life when her grandma shows up, who reveals he is playing dead, and threatens him to pull out the remaining hair from his head. Later, Grandpa reveals that he was preparing for the Halloween event. Kyousuke then tries out the sweets made by her family, and ends up helping them prepare for the event. After that, he agrees to spend the night at Minami's house. After taking the bath, when they go to bed, Kyousuke finds Minami's futon inside his room. And it reveals Minami's grandpa tricks them into sharing the same room. Later that night, the situation prompts Kyousuke to open up to Minami. He asks her what if someone confesses to her, what would she do? And when she asks the same question, he replies, if someone were to confess to me, I'd reject them. I don't want my peaceful lifestyle to change. Meanwhile, Kirino is noticeably frustrated that Kyousuke is staying over at Minami's house. The next morning, when Kyousuke returns, he finds Kuroneko at his house. She explains at their last meeting, they had a fight over their favorite anime. So as Saori suggested, they decided to watch anime together. However, after arriving, the two of them get into a fight concerning their literature tastes in a novel that Kirino wrote after reading Kuroneko's fanfiction online. When he asks Kirino about Kuroneko's novel, he gets the same response from her as Kuroneko. Later, Kirino wrote another novel and showed it to Kyousuke. He tells him that after she posts her novel online, she receives a tentative publishing offer. In order to get inspiration for her next novel, Kirino asks him to help her and drags him around the city on Christmas Eve. At a jewelry shop, Kirino manages to get Kyousuke to buy her some earrings, claiming that they were for emotional support. After that, when Kyousuke claims that Kirino is doing this simply for her own self-gratification, she pours a bucket of cold water over her head to prove that she is not doing this for her own self-gratification. They then stop by a hotel, so Kirino can shower and change her clothes. Out on the streets again, Kyousuke feels closer to Kirino as he notices her warm smile, while wearing the earrings that he bought her. Later, Kirino's novel has been gaining popularity, and her editor gives her the good news that it may be adapted into an anime. Overjoyed, she tells this news to her school friend Ayase. Later, Kirino also shares this news with Saori and Kuroneko and invites them to attend the anime staff meeting with her. At staff meetings, Kirino's editor introduces them as her assistants. Kirino shows her preference for the anime to the director and other staff members, like character design and voice artists. However, the staff members had other plans on their own. Kirino is shocked when the anime staff present their requested changes, one of which includes changing the lead protagonist from female to male. Later, when Kirino returns home, she collapses from exhaustion. Kyousuke meets Saori and Kuroneko. After learning what happened in their last meeting, he requests Kirino's editor to let him attend the meeting at Kirino's place to plead her case. During the meeting, one of the staff members tells that they are doing this to make a profit, not to please the author, and also reveals that he once already rejected this idea, with Kuroneko by his side, who also providing her opinions, both for and against the Kirino's novel. They try to convince the staff to reconsider Kirino's decisions. After some back and forth and Kyousuke begs them to reconsider Kirino's decisions, they finally agree to some of their requests. On the train, he asks them to keep this a secret from Kirino. Kuroneko questions why he did that, and then expresses envy at having older siblings. Later, Kirino also learns about the anime, and then she tells Kyousuke that the next life counseling session will be their last. The next morning, Kirino receives a long-awaited eroge in the mail. She spends all her day playing that game. However, she becomes frustrated at one of the characters who is cold towards her, unfortunately for Kyousuke, who is trying to study in the next room. Meanwhile, Kuroneko stays at home and looks after her little sister. Kuroneko's little sister reveals to be Maruru fan, the anime Kirino also likes. On the other hand, despite her initial frustration, Kirino gets really interactive with the eroge. Elsewhere, Saori reveals as a girl from some rich family surrounded by maids and butler. She plans for a maid-themed party for Kirino and Kuroneko. Later, Ayase calls Kyousuke and asks for his help. After a disagreement with Kirino over her hobbies when she visited her last time, Ayase asks Kyousuke for advice on what kind of present to give her to make up, so he agrees to help her to best find the best gift for Kirino. Kyousuke then asks Kuroneko and Saori for help, and after shopping around with them for ideas, they could not find anything relevant for Kirino. However, they eventually come across an event post and find it perfect for her. Kyousuke tells this to Ayase, and the event happens to be a cosplay contest, offering a rare Maruru figurine for the winner. Ayase objects to the idea of cosplaying and refuses to participate. However, she comes up with a plan and introduces her model friend, Kanako Kurusu, to Kyousuke. Together they manage to trick Kanako into cosplaying as Maruru for the contest. Sometime later, after the contest begins, they spot Kirino in the audience. Ayase and Kyousuke split up, and Kyousuke makes sure that Kanako doesn't spot Kirino. He gives her a cap to hide her face. Kanako arrives on the stage and manages to put on a winning performance and win the prize. Though Kirino never finds out about Kanako, afterward, despite Kanako's initial disgust toward Otaku fans, admits that she had fun while doing it. Kirino also receives that Maruru figurine from Ayase. Kyousuke goes out for shopping, and after running into Minami at the supermarket, Kyousuke invites her over to help him make lunch. However, at his house, Kirino is not too pleased with having Minami around, and starts making plans to hamper her visit. She rudely behaves with Minami and drags Kyousuke away. She confronts Kyousuke, and they have a stupid argument over Minami, until Minami herself stops them. When Minami tries to convince Kirino that she will go right after lunch, so she gives her arduous tasks like cleaning the living room, etc. But Minami completed all the tasks perfectly well, so Kirino has no complaints. Feeling defeated, Kirino left in frustration. When Kyousuke and Minami enter Kyousuke's room, they encounter embarrassing pornographic traps laid by Kirino in the room. First is adult content on the laptop, which he somehow manages to hide, but the second one is his own private collection, and Minami sees it. Later, Kyousuke goes to attend Kirino's anime party organized by Saori, but it reveals to be a personal harem party for Kyousuke with Kirino, Kuroneko, and Saori herself dressed as maids. During the party, Kuroneko shows off a perverted manga with characters based on Kirino and Kyousuke. Later, Kuroneko even starts calling Kyousuke Nai-san, much to the ire of Kirino. Kyousuke has a small outburst at Kirino for her behavior, complaining about how she treated Minami, who tried to be nice to her, and how she always treated him. But he still comes to celebrate until Kirino gives him a present. She apologizes to him for her behavior and thanks him, saying she is grateful for all his help. It is later revealed that the present was one of Kirino's favorite Siscon games. One morning, Kyousuke bumped into Kirino, and he is surprised to see that she is being polite to him, unlike her usual self. She even serves him breakfast, and he is still confused about what's wrong with her. Kyousuke goes to school and worries about Kirino's sudden change in behavior, thinking someone took her place. In the evening, he shares his worries with Saori, saying Kirino is forcing an act in front of everyone, until Kirino comes and asks for their last life counseling session. She uses this final session to request him to buy her an eroge that is launching at midnight in Akihabara. Kyousuke heads to Akihabara for a midnight sale. While he gets in line, he meets his classmate, Kauheikagi, who is buying a yaoi eroge for his own sister. Meanwhile, at home, Kuroneko calls Kirino about the cat ears she is making for her, and also tells Kirino that she might be going to change her way of calling Kyousuke. After Kyousuke manages to buy the eroge, he rides back home, and Kirino thanks him. Later, Kirino asks him to play the game with her. After completing the game, when he is about to leave, she stops him. She then shows him all of her medals and report cards with bad grades she had received throughout the years. After that, Kyousuke returns to his bed. The next morning, Kyousuke wakes up to find that Kirino has left for America for track and field training, without telling him about her departure. In the end, at the beginning of the new school term, Kyousuke meets Kuroneko, who would be attending his school as his underclassman. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, take care.